Do you feel nervous about taking the IELTS speaking test, especially Part 2? This is the part of the IELTS speaking test where you are given a card and you only get 1 minute to prepare what to say. After the 1 minute, then you have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes to the examiner in response to this card. It's not easy, and many students cannot speak for the whole 1.5 to 2 minutes. There are some good reasons to feel nervous about this part of the IELTS speaking test. You might not have any idea what's going to be on that card. And also you might feel nervous speaking in English to a native English-speaking examiner about something that you don't know so much about. Well, today we're going to look at a method for being successful with IELTS Speaking Part 2. Hi, I'm Jerry with Global Connection ESL, and I'm happy to provide these IELTS lessons for you so that you can be more successful with your IELTS test. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in. And today I'm going to call this 4-step process I PPF. And you can remember I PPF as a way to set up your plan for IELTS Speaking Part 2. So what's the I? The I is the introduction. In the introduction, you want to be sure to tell what you're going to talk about and why you're going to talk about it. As soon as you say 1 or 2 sentences in the introduction, be sure to transition into step 2. The past. Talk about something in the past and be sure to use some past tense verbs. Use past simple. You might even consider using phrases with used to talk about your experience. So first step, introduction. Second step, talk about something in the past. After you talk about the past, be sure to transition into the third step, the present. Use present tense verbs to explain something about the question prompt. You want to describe more and tell even during this part something about your opinion. This will make the story more interesting. And then finish this present section with a transition. After you give the transition, you will transition into the 4th step. The 4th step is talking about the future. Say something about your plans for the future, and when you speak about the future, it's good to use the right verb tenses. You might say something with will or be going to, and then after you finish, wrap it up with a last sentence. And that's all you really need to do. An introduction, something about the past, something about the present, explaining more about the current situation with your opinion, and then tell something about the future. Be sure as you speak for Part 2 that you tell this flow of the story using good verb tenses and transitions. And that's all you need to do. Let's take an example of an IELTS Speaking Part 2 cue card, and I'll show you how I would answer it. This cue card says, describe a popular tourist attraction you visited in your country. You should say where it is, how you got there, who you went with, and explain why you enjoyed it. Let me tell you about a world-famous tourist attraction in my country, the Golden Gate Bridge. The Golden Gate Bridge is in San Francisco, California, and it's world famous because it is so long and it is an iconic symbol of San Francisco. Anyway, I remember years and years ago how I wanted to visit the Golden Gate Bridge, but I never visited the Golden Gate Bridge as a child. My parents didn't take me there, but after I became an adult, when I was 23 years old, I went to San Francisco for the first time. I knew when I visited San Francisco that I had to see the Golden Gate Bridge. It's world famous. So I went there, just a short 2-day layover on my travel. But I stayed in the city and went to see the Golden Gate Bridge. It was so much longer than I had ever imagined in the pictures. Why is the Golden Gate Bridge such a famous attraction? Well, it represents the tourist industry in San Francisco, but when it was built, it was an engineering masterpiece. In fact, it's the longest bridge, a suspension bridge, in the world. Up until recently, there is another bridge in New York and another one in Japan, I believe. However, this orange bridge in San Francisco is well known because it is so long and goes across from San Francisco City over to the neighboring county. And I believe this is a representation of how the world is connected and we can connect with each other. When we think about from one city across the water to another place, we can connect with each other just by building bridges. In the future, I want to go to the Golden Gate Bridge again and visit with my family. In fact, I hope to take my son, and someday I hope to take my grandchildren. I want them to see this miracle of modern engineering and how it represents the connection from this city in San Francisco to places all around the world. So, there you have it. Did you recognize the pattern that I used in my example with the introduction, the past, the present, and the future? It's an easy template to remember. I PPF. And so when you are preparing for this speaking part 2, think about it this way, and it will be easy to tell the story. When you are taking the IELTS speaking test, you will be marked on 4 different categories: fluency and coherence, lexical resource, this really means your vocabulary, grammatical range and accuracy. And when you do the speaking part, if you think about the past, the present, and the future, you will have a chance to demonstrate your effective use of verb tenses. And this will count for a lot in the grammar part of your marking. And the 4th part is pronunciation. So fluency and grammar will be much stronger if you think about this pattern of speaking for IELTS Speaking Part 2. Introduction, past, present, and future. I hope that helped. Let me give you one more bonus tip for today's lesson. When you are meeting with the IELTS examiner, it's natural to feel nervous. You are worried about speaking and saying something wrong that he or she might not understand because of your language skills. Don't worry. When you sit down with the examiner, think in your mind that this examiner is young again and is your age. And think about sharing the information on the card like you are sharing with your friend. If you think about the examiner as one of your friends who is your age, you will relax more and you will speak with more excitement and understanding of what you want to say. Give it a try. If you change your mindset about who you're speaking to, you will relax a little more. Was this lesson helpful for you today? I really hope so. I want to see your speaking skills improve more and more. Do your best on the IELTS speaking test, and it will give you more and more confidence. Do you know someone who could also benefit from learning about this technique for IELTS speaking? Why don't you share it with them? It would mean so much to me if you would share this video and like it, and subscribe to this channel. Oh, before we go, did you write a comment? Do you have a question you want to ask? Write that down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks very much for watching. If this video and others are helpful to you, I hope you'll watch more. Thanks again, and best of luck with IELTS.